All right, what, like 48-ish hours till kickoff?
The countdown is on. And Sun Devil fans are making the trek out there.
Yeah.
I think flights, I think a lot of people are getting there however they can.
Getting
through
a lot
whatever
of,
city they need to go through.
Getting a lot of, yeah, exactly. Getting a lot of texts and seeing a lot of posts from Atlanta and like the College Football Hall of Fame. It's pretty much real now. This is officially game week. ASU's there. You mentioned earlier the send-off yesterday by Sun Devil Stadium. That was cool. Just kind of another chapter in this season. We'll go into a lot of different ways this game could be decided, but obviously Sam Leavitt versus Quinn Ewers is a major story in this game, and this is Sam Leavitt's over the weekend talking about it.
Yeah, I've watched him for a fair amount of time now. I'm just excited for the opportunity. People keep counting me out since day one, and I'm gonna go prove I'm the better quarterback. And that's how I feel since day one. So I'm gonna go put everybody on the map.
I love it.
Yeah, I mean, when you originally saw the headlines, if you'd only hear the soundbite, it's like Sam Leavitt says he's better.
I'm going to prove I'm the better quarterback. Which, if you think about it, right? Well, if you want to win the game, you could still be, you could have a running attack.
Yeah.
And maybe you're not having better numbers than Quinn Ewers, but maybe you still win. But I love that that's his attitude, and I think it goes back to what he said previous in that soundbite. I've been counted out. This is a kid who felt that way, I guess, I don't know where he was ranked coming out of high school, but went to Michigan State, so, I mean, that's, it's not one of the elite programs, but a solid program.
Yeah.
If Matt McConnell's listening, which maybe, I know he doesn't feel that way sometimes because we always...
Anybody that worked for the Coyotes, they all went to Michigan State somehow,
it
except
seemed
like you and I.
Yeah, and then our director, Brian Moss, he was a Michigan guy, so there'd be all this, kind of, internal...
strife.
Yeah, it was kind of fun to go back and forth, especially when they would play. But Sam,
I have a great story about that. I'll just tell you off the air. With Tyson Nash, it was hilarious. But anyway,
probably best.
Sorry.
So
it's not that it's not like a bad story. It's just that we have to hit ASU here because there's only so much time.
Yeah. The things you and I want to talk about are not always necessarily airworthy, but So, but for Sam, I don't mind that attitude at all. I love the confidence, and
that's why he's gotten where he is this season. He's been confident all season. I forget what game it was. They talked to him after the game on the sidelines, and he was like, "Yeah, I feel like I'm the best in the country." I mean, that to me was a much more bold statement than I'm going to try to prove I'm better than Quinn Ewers on Wednesday. I would also say this, and this is not a knock on Quinn Ewers. I think just the fact that we're at a point where we can have this conversation and it be a real thing. If you had said this before the season when Quinn Ewers was a projected top 5, top 10 pick, you'd have been like, what, ASU has a redshirt freshman quarterback that hasn't really played. You think he's going to be on the same level as Quinn Ewers? I think if you were drafting right now all these quarterbacks that are left in the playoffs, Sam Leavitt would come off the board before Quinn Ewers. If you were drafting for college, if these teams were just redrafting. Now, for the NFL draft, obviously Ewers is a little more
I mean, Sam still hasn't played. If you look at Ewers has more games under his belt, so there's a larger sample when you're looking at it from the perspective of evaluators. But he's shown.
For this game, I'd rather have Leavitt, honestly.
I mean, I think you could go either way, really, with it. I think Sam Leavitt has shown he can do a little bit of everything. There's not really a weakness in his game, right? He's got a great arm. He can make all the throws. He is physical. He's not shy about running and making things happen with his legs, and he makes pretty good decisions. That's the biggest thing. I know I always go back to that with quarterbacks, but because he's only 19 years old and Quinn Ewers is at least 21, right?
Yeah.
I would think.
Yeah.
He's 19 and he's shown a lot of poise, and I think that's what Kenny Dillingham really likes about him too. Is as this year, you're right, they would not be here without Sam Leavitt's physical and mental acumen.
You could make a case, and it's tough with the way Scadaboo finished the season, but you could make a case that Leavitt's been their, I don't know about most valuable player because Scadaboo had a historically great season, but maybe not even most important. Sam Leavitt's been important. How's that? It's hard to give anybody any award with Scadaboo there.
It's hard to get away from Scadaboo with the way that even in the most recent game, Iowa State, the way that he can kind of take over a game, the way he breaks tackles and gets to the end zone.
Yeah, but you can only do so. Even if you were having a truly great season like Scadaboo or Ashton Genty in Boise State or a couple of these other guys, you can only go so far if you just have the running back. To your point on Leavitt, he's made a lot of plays this season without making a lot of mistakes. He just doesn't turn the ball over much. And that if that's who you are as a freshman, you feel like that's probably who you're going to. He's smart. He's smart with the ball. And to me, I've said this before, I think it's probably this way for a lot of ASU people. The season went from they could be decent this year to, oh, wait, this could be a really – when he started to take off, he and Jordan Tyson. He doesn't have Tyson on Wednesday. And if you're asking me if I'd rather have Leavitt or Ewers for Wednesday, I think I'd rather have Leavitt. If you're asking me if I'd rather have Leavitt's weapons or Ewers' weapons, I would much rather have Texas's weapons right now because they're established.
And as Isaiah Bond is supposed to play.
Yeah, great. Good for him. Couldn't wait one more week.
Well, again, it goes back to the chip on the shoulder, and I think these receivers feel that way too, trying to pick up the slack for Jordan Tyson. And, this is a group that they probably feel counted out. They did, perform when Tyson went down. Other guys had to step up. At the end of that U of A game, of course, that was a blowout game. But at Iowa State, that's all we have to go on, and they performed pretty well. So, I'm looking forward to seeing it. I think this is a team that no one can count out. You just don't know what to expect from Arizona State because they've risen to most challenges, and they've gotten better and better as the season went on. Those losses were earlier, and they were with some injuries, key injuries. So
yeah, and if Tyson's going to miss the game, which he is, that's not that he's not playing again this year. But if he was going to have to miss this game. Now, in retrospect, I'm glad they had that Iowa State game to sort of figure out how to do this, right? I mean, Iowa State's not Texas. Iowa State's a good team. All the credit to them. They got to the Big 12 championship. They deserve to be there. They lost 2 games all year. Iowa State's a good team. But ASU had that game to sort of figure out what they have with McClain and what they have. I mean, they know what they have with Stovall, but for him to make a huge play, Xavier Guillory's really kind of taken off here the last few weeks. So they've played a game without Jordan Tyson. They're not going to take the field on Wednesday and be like, okay, what do we do without Tyson as Texas is putting up 21 points? They've already kind of had to deal with it once.
Yeah, I think there's an amount of resiliency there, and it's just the practices they know that without Tyson, how are we going to be explosive? They like you said, they did experience that against Iowa State. The other thing that comes to mind here is just the coaching matchup between Dillingham and Sarkisian, because these are 2 guys. These are offensive minds. I know Sarkisian's been around a whole lot longer because Kenny is so young. But, I mean, I think Kenny is really regarded as one of the top offensive minds in the country, too. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see that side of this and the creativity with the play calling and what kind of surprises are in store from both sides. And, the thing is, and it really struck me with the whole Shamari Simmons and Montana Warren filling in, is that, defense, football over the course of the 4 quarters, you're going to have some plays made and some plays not made. But are you going to limit those big plays? And that's one of the big ones is just when you have guys, and they have a lot of experience. They have some pretty good experience on defense, but they have some young guys as well. And you have to be on your toes for this. There's no room for big mental mistakes.
Yeah.
I mean, I say that, and yet if they get down in the first quarter, of course there's a ton of football to be played, but it's going to put the spotlight on the one-on-one matchups in this. I'm thinking of the secondary, but I think it's the same for both. I think both teams, as much as they want to run the ball, they're going to have their downfield chances, and they're going to be, maybe it's who converts on more of those throughout the 4 quarters of this game.
Texas scores a lot early. They do. I mean, this is I really do feel like if ASU is within a score or up at halftime, they're going to find a way to win this game. But the question really is, can you get to halftime? ASU's defense all season long has gotten better as games gone on. For the most part, I know BYU, that flurry late, but for the most part, in close games, ASU's defense has gotten better as the games have gone on. They'll get Shamari Simmons back in the second half. Texas scores a lot early. So if they can get through that first half, I think they're in a good spot. Tim Healy gave me the stat yesterday. ASU's outscored their opponents 101-13 in the first half of the last 4 games. Like, wow. ASU's scoring a lot early.
They do. They really have.
101-13.
And you know what? That's that's a trend where you feel like you can hang your hat on that, and hopefully that continues. But this is the biggest challenge yet. Media darling Tim Healy. I saw him on a few shows last night.
Healy's everywhere.
He is. It's so exciting. He's pretty excited too because he's been on the call for a really long time, and he talks about this being that biggest moment because I think he came on as the voice in '98.
Right after
I want to say
the Rose Bowl. Yeah.
Thanks for watching Wolf and Luke. Tap to see more and click the button in the middle to subscribe to Arizona Sports.